My name's Amelia Jane Hunter, and I'm a show-off since birth and an entertainer by nature. I'm here at the Thessaloniki Fringe for the second year in a row, and I'm doing a sort of a work-in-progress show called Love's Out Loud as a result of what's happening in the world and being an entertainer and just wanting to bring something joyful but poignant, political yet soulful.
Okay.
Trying to.
But I couldn't take my mind off the main basis of the show, which was, if I'm not mistaken, firstly love, sex, of course. We talked a lot about sex.
There's an element to that, yes.
Can you talk a bit about the structure and what is the basis to you, like love and sex? Is this important to you?
Well, love is really the foundation of the show. I mean, I stray into sexual territory because it's a work in progress, and I am very sexual, and I do use that more as a leverage a little bit with the audience to sort of, you know, rattle the sensibilities, because people can be very conservative by virtue, but I don't want to be too, I don't want to interrogate them so much, but, you know, as a woman who's aging disgracefully. But what I say is, like, you know, in a world where women are silenced and sort of shunted away because, for whatever reasons, menopause, you know, the body, the hormones, it's a really powerful time. And given that the world is in, you know, absolute chaos, and the calamity of the decision making, mainly by men, and, you know, the magnificent power of women, how we've been oppressed over the years. Look, there's the politics, but I want to just bring a sense of excitement, inspiration, joy, and by using my own experiences through life, which I'm very proud of as well. You know, I've always made my own decisions. I've been very inspired by people. But having a curiosity and living, I guess, a sort of an unconventional life. Living authentically, it is a challenge. A lot of people don't quite understand it or accept it, but it's not my job to make people feel comfortable. Certainly with my audiences, I want them to feel included and loved and safe, but I also feel like it's okay as an artist to be, this is not a safe place.
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to attack you, of course, but that, you know, there's so many of us that haven't felt safe. It's an entitlement in a way, but look, the beautiful thing about a fringe festival is you can take a concept, you can have an idea. I mean, obviously it's more than an idea, but you want to come and try it in these magnificent safe spaces where people know it's not in this grand theatre and we're not paying hundreds of dollars a ticket, it's this amount, and we know it may be a work in progress, or certainly the infancy of an artist's idea, brand, kernel of, you know, the seed of whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've had this idea for a long time. I think I always use love, definitely sexuality, definitely pride. Politics has always been a big part of my shows. But as I said, you know, when COVID came and people were locked down, shut away, people lost a lot of confidence. There's still fear that resonates. And as a performer, I remember coming back out and looking at the fear in the audience and thinking, okay, my politics, you know, I'm always, by virtue of who I am, will be a feminist, but it's not about, you know, making people, you know, a call to arms. It really was about entertaining. And so I did play the clown and had a lot more fun with my craft as a comedian. And now I feel like the politics are coming back in. You can't help but be reactive. And Nina Simone said, you know, an artist reflects the times. And I feel that I have always had a voice for the voiceless, and certainly as a woman, a white woman who's very privileged, and I use that privilege, I hope, to inspire others, and if not to educate a little bit, with joy and jokes.
I understand, yeah. And was it hard talking about all this stuff? Because I can understand that talking about politics, talking about being a woman, talking about sex on stage might be a bit tricky. And did you heard any criticism? I can say yes, but can you please tell me your experience?
Sure, there's always been criticism. I mean, an artist is always up to be critiqued. Festivals, fringes, there's always reviewers. We use good reviews to sell our shows. We get annoyed by bad reviews. But if they're constructive, it's always a really helpful thing. I think as a woman, we are constantly navigating the politics of life, people's disappointment, frustrations, anger. We're on the receiving end of a lot. Again, I use my privilege with the knowledge that I have in the places that I've travelled to, again, to try and highlight situations. You know, I used to always say to certain friends in Australia when they'd go, "Oh, my life's so terrible," and I'd say, "Well, take a trip down the street in Calcutta and get back to me." You know, it's not always, on the grand scale of it all, because people do have general trauma and emotions, and I don't want to negate or belittle any of that. I just can use the experiences I have, and also what I feel is like a burning passion, not something that needs a cream, what do I really want to talk about at the moment? And obviously the state of the world, the patriarchy, all of that. But using a creative bent, how can I do this in a way that people want to engage, stay? I think I've always been judged to a certain degree, but you learn just to say, well, while you're saying something, while you're judging me, I'm out here making art. And art, it's changing, it shifts. There are jokes that no longer work, or information I no longer want to talk about. The sexual thing is a bit of a hangover from an old show where I was called Exquisite Pervert, and it was a big sort of sexual canvas of this is who I am, not like take it or leave it, but in fact it was really lovely to see a lot of younger women and younger men step up and say thank you, that was inspiring.
And how do you see that younger women coming on stage and maybe trying stand-up for the first time, or did you have any women growing up who were stand-up comedians or any other professions that made you think maybe I can try that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to your first point, I really foster and support young women who step up onto the stage. I came from an acting background, so the stage was I never shied from it. I was like, I'll go first. I love the stage, and that is a big hurdle for a lot of people, firstly, the nerves facing an audience, being on stage. I definitely love to foster and support other women, other people, because it can be not a safe space for some people. It's not a comfortable space. A lot of men together, I forget what the collective noun for is it? Douchebag, I can't remember, but I'm constantly inspired. I'm always inspired. I love to be inspired. I would like to be, that's why I travel so extensively and ask so many questions. I drive people crazy, actually, because if you don't know, how else are you going to find out? I mean, it's not like sexual questions. It's more, especially living in Europe, in Central Europe, when I was in Berlin. I live now in Barcelona. I'm fascinated by culture and creed and codes and how people communicate, and what they're saying, especially when you don't know the mother tongue. Yeah. So you can only hear the intonations and look at the body language. And, in Germany it was...
Yeah.
But then there's also this really abstract language they have, and it's really lovely once you learn it. But if you don't travel or ask questions or read, I think that's what we're missing. People don't ask questions anymore, and if they do, they don't stick around for the answers, because people can Google it, or they'll get a headline and it'll say 3-minute read.
Yeah. So do you hope for yourself being inspiring to younger people in general? Do you see yourself as that person?
I hope so. I don't do what I do to inspire. I do to entertain, and inspiration, I think, is a byproduct of that. I set out to bring joy. I used to shop I used to set out to shock, but I don't do that so much anymore. I know that a lot of what I say does shock, and again, living in Europe and travelling in Europe, and certainly travelling, look, even in Australia where I'm from, certain places, like I did a show last night, and it was a different show to tonight, because the audiences are different, and so I think the more experience you have, the more you can read an audience, and it's not such a set narrative that it's the same thing all the time. Even if it was, you know, when I was an actress, it's the same script. It never lands the same on the audience. So yeah, I would love to think I'm inspiring. I think just by virtue of laughter, when people laugh together, there's a synergy that's very powerful. And I like to think that people leave feeling better than when they walked in.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure,
more
yeah.
in touch with themselves, even if they know more, even about me. But I like to think that, you know, I am inclusive of everyone, you know, being queer, but also coming from very sort of conservative background, Catholic school, knowing things, having a vast array of beautiful friends. I like to, make everyone feel included, young and older, maturing, or whatever they say. My mum says, we're not getting older, I'm currently achieving magnificence.
That's nice.
It's nice, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
But it was so interesting, and it was the crowd interaction was so engaging, and I loved it. And
you.
thank God you talked about Asteris. That was so lovely, and everything was amazing, very interesting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's lovely. I mean, the dancing, a friend of mine in Australia, he's a beautiful big gay man who's in his mid-60s, and so he's a beautiful performer who comes out and talks about gay and surviving AIDS, and, you know, just because it was illegal and still in 68 or 168 countries, I think, it's still illegal, and the treatment of gay people, even by those who think they're liberated. So he does these very, very powerful shows, and he has a dance break, you know, because the information is a lot. And so he goes, right, let's change the energy and have a dance break.
Yeah.
And I became very inspired by that. And
So did you plan it to dance at the end of the show?
I actually had a song in the middle if, you know, things go, ooh, and I go, right, you know, and so the beautiful manager here who's been doing the sound and lights for me, I had him, you know, ready if, you know, in case I needed the song. But I always knew I wanted to play that song at the end, just because people dance and it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
You know,
that's true.
and they did, everyone was dancing. Well, most people were dancing, you know, and the women up the back were hugging. So I feel happy that people took away something, you know, a bit of joy.
Yeah.
And I think there's one thing I love is that when I see some art has an impact, you know, whether it's visual or theatrical or dance, I go away and I feel something. You know, a movie, a play or something, you shift it in some way, and that's what I love. Art, that's what art can do. So I hope that people go home and feel a little bit better, or, you know, whether they remember a joke or a punchline, whatever.
I will for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people remember me for being, oh, that's that rude woman, you know, because in comedy people go, oh, women only ever talk about their periods or something, and I go, because they have them. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. I mean, if you call yourself a comedian, then you want to be funny.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just doing a TED talk. Well,
Yeah.
sometimes I do, but
So, what's next for you?
What's next? I have a tour, and that starts next week. And so being here in this Fringe was bringing this show, you know, because as an artist, I like to always give myself a deadline. So a Fringe festival, a comedy festival, booking a date, so you've got to turn up, you've got to have your show ready, and if you don't, you better make sure it looks ready. So it's just, you know, and I work for myself, I manage myself, I produce myself, I direct myself, I write myself. I run my stuff by some professionals in the later stages, so next week I will have a couple of directors come in, just because I want to make this show more theatrical. I have some other elements to it. So we'll be shaping it, as you say, and bringing it right down to a set time, and then I'm touring it, so 3-4 times a week. And that's what this show needs, or any show, is just keep stepping it out onto whatever stage. And these places are fantastic because, you know, we're in a basement, you know, an old music club. It's holes in the wall.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, it's lovely, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not like it can be rough, but it can be a work in progress. And you don't feel like you have to be word perfect.
Yeah.
You want to be professional and you want to be sure that you've got a beginning, a middle and an end, but you may not know which bits work. And you wouldn't necessarily gauge that off one audience. If you were doing the same joke and no one was ever getting it, well, you might want to do away with that bit. Or you might work out how much excess you have. Because it's lovely also, and I think this comes with experience, allowing a moment to breathe. And because I come from an acting background, I really like to use my body on the stage, not just my voice.
Okay.
So,
I understand, yeah.
yeah.
So will we expect you next year here?
I would love to, because last year was my first year here, and I was so absolutely impressed by the Fringe, the management, the support. I had a beautiful venue, different to here. Everyone there, the volunteers, it was so seamlessly run. It's only small and in its infancy, but it was a joy. And, you know, of course I had beautiful shows. Everyone I met was absolutely delightful. And I love Greece, the cuisine, the food, the community.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And it was a joy. I mean, it's, you know, everyone goes to the islands or Santorini or whatever. Thessaloniki is like, not many people would come here, but it's a beautiful city. And I think it's a very inspiring place. So yes, it's on my calendar as a place to come. Because you can like do 2 nights here.
Yeah.
And it's a good place to bring a show that's really well done, or start a show in its work in progress.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of a Fringe. You know, they traditionally, you know, it was all about the fringe artists who aren't really mainstream. They've got different lateral thinking, weird ideas, they blend genres, and I love that stuff. For me, I love to go and see other fringe artists. I just like to see what people do for an hour on stage, what their mind's doing, what their body, what they're expressing, how they're reacting to the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love art, you know, good and bad, because you can always take away something defining about it.
Yeah.
And it's a gift. That what artists do, they're gifting to the world something really unique, and I think that gets lost a lot in the competitive, financial, you know, judgment, travel, all of that. People forget, you know, that artist has sat and thought about that or lived that, expressed that. They're bringing it to life for you on stage, and that is a gift.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
Yeah, I
so
agree.
we have to be very thankful. I mean, some of them might need to go back to the drawing board or have better friends, but it's a lovely gift. And the world, I think, needs more artists. It needs more revolutionaries. It needs more mavericks. It needs more people that, you know, can corral a crowd, you know, a call to arms, but in a pacifist, you know, let's unite, let's stand up for what we believe in. Because we're missing those people, you know, because people just subscribe to a fairly generic world out there that I don't think has our best interests, certainly not our health, mental, spiritual, you know. So artists are very powerful and often are on the front line and ahead of their times and saying out loud what most people are either thinking or don't want to say themselves. So in a way, artists give the audience permission to laugh, to let go, to release, to feel something. We're awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm very inspired constantly. I love very strong political artists. I love writers. I love really powerful performers. Yeah, I want to lean in and really listen to some people, you know, or I want to laugh and just feel such love. Art is a very, very powerful medium, and the world needs more artists.
For sure, yeah. I totally agree, yeah.
Absolutely. And the support of the artists, because we can't do it just out of the love of it. I mean, we do love it, and for me, certainly it's a vocation, but it's also a job.
Yeah, I understand.
And
yeah.
so, you know, we can't just do it because it's good exposure. Exposure doesn't pay rent, or my flights, or my fantastic suits. But you know,
it is, it's fantastic, And I saw it wrote love on the back, and I was wondering who did that.
Yes, Julieta Abdon. She's an incredible Argentinian.
Louis Vuitton, you said?
No.
No? Okay.
Julieta Abdon.
Okay.
But not Louis Vuitton. Soon,
Soon, of course.
I think. I'm not sure they're on the boycott list,
Yeah.
but if it's secondhand, absolutely.
Okay.
But I am open to designers designing for me.
Okay.
But no, the beautiful artist friend of mine in Berlin who I met, Julieta Abdon, she painted this suit for me.
That's lovely,
and she did the love there on her own, and so that was a surprise for me.
Yeah, that was lovely,
Yeah, it's good. I mean, you know, again, from my acting career, it was, you know, you either had a costume on stage, and so as a stand-up comedian, as a woman, you know, you're judged straight away before you even, you know, your name's called and here's a woman. So for me, I guess also the way I was raised, to look nice on stage. I mean, I love costumes, I love dressing up, I love makeup, I love heels, I love it all, even though I'm a bush girl, but for me, it's important to look presentable.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah, and original and individual. You know, I'm horrified often sometimes by how some people present themselves on stage. People are buying tickets to a show at Saturday night. Take the gym pants off. Anyway, cut that. Don't put that in there because I don't want to be sounding judgmental. But you know, I think also it's a sense of occasion when the artist is on the stage and they've got something on. You're like, wow, I love that. You know, and that gives a feeling.